Jordan, good can take you. 아니 샹라 양천 가서 보는 거 진리 자치 먹는 거 닝톱동 믹서게 자치 바우 바모대주 보담바 쳐서 그 쳇的 랑서 랑주 동 제와 루동 그 바우 바모는 쳇的 양은 그 가마 직셔 아니 양은 고두셔 나셔인 샴라 스위스도 레크턴스도 뿌리마몬 그 접속전에 아니 냠게 잔통 로미 도통 한초지 시점 생각는 졸라 배야가니 쉬게 시트게 얘기돼 아니 졸라마야 레셔
Now, reading of memorandum to the Honorable President of the United Nations Human Rights Council. This will be submitted by Mrs. Kamachukila, President of the Tibetan community in Switzerland and Liechtenstein before the end of our protest today.
Address to Michelle Bachelet, the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, Palais Nations, Geneva 10. And dated on 24th September 2021. And the subject we have written, appeal to hold China account for continued violation of human rights in Tibet and raise the issue during UNHRC session and statements. So, Your Excellency, we, the Tibetan community of Switzerland and Liechtenstein, are writing to request you to hold China accountable for the continued violations of human rights in Tibet. We urge you to raise the issue of gross human rights violation in Tibet during the UNHRC sessions and your statements. China has been consistently violating every aspect of fundamental human rights in Tibet, aspect of fundamental rights of Tibetans with impunity. Any form of peaceful expression by Tibetan people against the denial of basic rights bring more arbitrary arrest, imprisonment, torture, disappearances, and cycle of unrest. The relentless, violent suppression of Tibetan people has led Tibetans to self-immolate as a mark of peaceful protest against the Chinese authorities. Over 155 Tibetans in Tibet have self-immolated since 2009. Some of the concerning issues
that we urge for your urgent attention are: the first, intensifications of assimilatory policy in Tibet by China. A new wave of assimilation of Tibetan cultural identity by removing Tibetan language in the form of formal education system is causing us serious concerns. China has now extended its control over the Tibetan language in all Tibetan areas and schools, including kindergarten in Tibet. In addition to existing restriction over over the Tibetan language, the Chinese authorities in Tibet have stepped up its Sinicization drive under the new campaign, Caring and Assistance. Under this campaign, the Chinese authorities mobilized Chinese provinces to coordinate teacher to teacher and pair kindergarten to kindergarten, aimed for tightening access to Tibetan language from early years of schoolings. In early August 2021, Gelsen Getza, schools in Tehor, Rongpatsa Township and Katse in Tibetan province of Kham was issued a closure warning notice by the local government. The school have been warned of severe consequences, including closures of school if the school does not switch into teaching the state-compiled textbook and start using Chinese language as medium of instruction, including conducting the school annual examination in Mandarin. Local Tibetans and students who had petitioned the local education officers to allow teaching in Tibetan language are persecuted. For instance, on 16th August 2021, a 19-year-old Sherab Dorji, along with the few other Tibetan students, were arbitrarily taken into custody for refusing to attend a political meeting called for praising the Communist Party of China. All students were released except Dorji because of his involvement in petition calling the local government office to allow teaching in Tibetan language in order to advance Mandarin. Tibetan children have been systematically denied for receiving education in the mother tongue Tibetan language. So Tibetan children are gradually losing their ability to speak, write and read in Tibetan language. Secondly, compulsory military summer camp for Tibetan children. Tibetan children aged from 8 to 16 are made to attend compulsory military summer camp during the school summer break. In face of increasing restrictions and denials of rights for learning Tibetan language, however, the Chinese authorities have banned monasteries from teaching the Tibetan language during school vacations. For instance, furthermore, Tibetan children are made to attend compulsory military summer camps during the school break. The Chinese official source have announced over 100 Tibetan children from age 8 to 16 from primary and secondary schools in Lhasa, capital city of Tibet, have completed the training from Young Snowhawk military summer camp. Thirdly, deteriorating situation in Za Wampo, Khatsa Tibetan area incorporated in China's Sichuan province. We are deeply concerned about the expanding crackdown on Tibetans in Za Wampo in Khatsa Tibetan Autonomous Region. Since last month, the situation in Za Wampo has been further deteriorated, with an increasing number of Tibetans being arbitrarily arrested, detained, disappeared, and tortured by the Chinese authorities. Since August 2021, over 120 Tibetans have denied or detained for allegedly keeping the photos of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Following the death of a 19-year-old monk, Tenzin Yima, a monk from Zawampu Monastery, the Chinese authorities have stepped up its restriction and surveillance, including rampant night raids. The young monk, Tenzin Yima, also called as Tame, was from Zawampu Monastery in Wampu Township, Kanse Prefecture, a Tibetan area within Sichuan province. The authorities initially detained him on November 9, 2019. 2 days after he and 3 other Wampa monks briefly distributed leaflets and shouted slogans calling for Tibetan independence. outside the local Whampoa government office. The protest occurred as local officials increasingly put pressure on forcibly restricted nomads and local residents to publicly praise the government poverty alleviation program. In October 2020, the prison authorities told his family to collect him from the prison due to his medical conditions. He was by then too weak to recover from injuries sustained due to beatings, malnourishment, and mistreatment in custody. Tenzin Nyima succumbed to his torture injuries on 19 January 2021. Fourthly, continued disappearance of 11th Panchen Lama, Gendun Choek Nyima. This year marks the 26th year of enforced disappearance of Tibet's 11th Panchen Lama, Gendun Choek Nyima, and his entire family by China. Gendun Choek Nyima was born on 25th April 1989. On 17th May 1995, he and his entire family were kidnapped by the Chinese authorities. Since then, China has refused to divulge any sufficient and satisfactory information about his whereabouts. Instead, in its place, China has installed his own candidates, a son of Communist Party members. The case of Panchen Lama Gendun Choek Nyima's enforced disappearance is pending at the United Nations Special Procedure Working Group on Enforced or Involuntary Disappearance, as well as the Committee on the Rights of Child since 1995. It continues to be one of the longest drawn cases of enforced disappearance in the world. Fifth, violation of rights of freedom of religion. China is restricting Tibetans from taking part in religious activities. It has banned Tibetan school children and elders from participating in religious activities, even during the current Buddhist holy month of Sakadawa. Tibetans are also restricted from joining monasteries and nunneries to become monks and nuns. China is using the centuries-old Tibetan Buddhist systems of reincarnation as a political tool to control the Tibetans. In view of the aforementioned human rights violation by China, we urge Your Excellency to raise the issues of gross human rights violation in Tibet during the United Nations Human Rights Council sessions and statements. We also appeal Your Excellency to call upon China, firstly, to respect the right of Tibetan children to receive education in their own mother tongue Tibetan language. Secondly, to immediately seize military camps and forcing Tibetan children to undergo military-style training during school breaks. Thirdly, to release Tibet's 11th Panchen Lama Gendun Choek Nyima and his entire family, and Chade Rinpoche and all Tibetan political prisoners. Fourthly, to stop meddling in all religious practices of the Tibetan peoples. We also appeal in the fifth to give unfettered access to Tibet, allowing an independent fact-finding missions to assess the ground situation in Tibet. Yours sincerely, the TCSL President, Kamachugla, and TCSL Vice President Kansiwandu. Tujiche, thank you.
Samla menurut ngasi kamachunga la ni kambusia.
Slogan shouting for 15 minutes.
We demand human rights. We demand human rights. We demand human rights. Tibet is burning. Tibet is burning. Tibet is burning. Tibet is burning. China is lying. Tibet is burning. China is lying. want. We want freedom. What we 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 want. We want freedom. No religious freedom. In Tibet. No religious freedom. In Tibet. No religious freedom. In Tibet. No language freedom. In Tibet. No language freedom. In Tibet. No language freedom. In Tibet. Long live! Long live! Long live! Let the Dalai Lama! Break it up! Break it up! Break it up! 공산당 위치부! 우리 필요 때마쇼! 공산당 위치부! 공산당 위치부! 개정 때마쇼! Mama's leaving! Mama's leaving! You and who? Mama's leaving! You and who? Mama's leaving! You and who? Stay! Stop killing! In Tibet! Stop killing! In Tibet!
미망 소말라 영서 공시시야라 디디 최저다다 정도만 성공돼 시고요. 아니 샴라 수수 것부터 돈주 그건 처음에 인전 전에 디링그 링거 돈지위 아니 성신원주 아니 그건 처음에 인전 라페라 나오셔.
Now, speech by Mr. Chimirinzila, representative of the Office of Tibet, Geneva.
Dring draw me top down, JG Dundan la, draw me top down gay, and it's so do things if you say, shape gay. Any drawing big Didan, Nyambula, and in answer to the Switzerland and Liechtenstein, Primima, Nangne, and in Naranso Namju, and if they were charging Chashilani, page what that good resonda, Tawa Fediata, any same she unit Janjachi de, any Chijunan Devadilla, Yetoma, number of the those paper any Tojiche Shui, didn't try they got Shuni, very so big, and it's also Kamala dan so jure, and Anashingi, the Vanyambo, and Chashilini Samala, Ning Tawane, Tojiche Shua dan Trane, that ring a della Manzuzo Miman Zomia de Cambridge Abuare. Cambridge Jabbe Cap de la Sacerca Gesons, Namigan Pison, some de Dugue, Kejab Guguare, de Nanzuruche, Ningdu dire, Chajin Yangan Shiche, Nanzukashi Chiki de Vala, Kejarashi, Kejashi de la, Anico, Takwa Shini, Ninimena, Shini Wutu, Seg, sort of which Jason D. Imba Dodo de Nanzo. Namju running it, Tantashe de again, Yingdu de Manzu Tsangma, Kadu in again, within Tola, Yamrup Chenia, Langu dos, Di Matsebeke, Manzu Tsangma, Lega Karicheva in again, Ransup Tempo Shibichigane, and Dr. Perachigane, Chegu dos, Di Maimbekane, and in Kecha Jashia, get do Trivena, Manzu Tota Chitigo dos, Sene. Under Doza Chiti, Inji Mijing and to go those. Shesan Doza Chiti Majumba, and to cut Torbaina, Namju such a lixion Lasuna Yore, any Shuman Tuna Tradis, any Jagasu Carsore this year Gitagi Sevuti Roma Sochesa, Tagi Duke, Nico Chuya, and Nico Luke Mount Chena, Luke and Tracy. Nanzo Kaji Mindus, Naran Sama Dota Chigri Chegudu, says any dindichik shundu chung song chezan di imba indu ngepar do nganzu ke langchu chik shung chik uti chik chamgu chik di nganzu ane choga sum chik to diwa yin slab ne di ngepa do kongpa shero na sene shuya yin ane mangpo shene chok kese tonggu mendo chezan ane chokda ne mangpo penyi ge changma ane toji che shuya yin 다 마오바 간조 가르치고 도세나 간조 낭로라 애니 지주게 다제 나라 망고 숭 데발레 디 만조 카 주르네 베든 토라 랑고도스 스페난기 애니 미만디게디 할 레비심 주레 단다 간조 카시지 베난라 셈슈 차요레세디 셈슈 자라니 차요 마레 베난라 제자 셈슈 첨부 시타레 제자 간조기 로디 녜마이나 베난기 자치 미망기 센주난 데니기 미만디게라 로디 슈사치기레 당한조파 베 자치 미망라 파로디 고에게 소라부지 차기도 제자 디임바인드 간조 라원 기룽바난라 데니기 미리 아니고 베기 미망 디게 디티시게 당한조 투사사브라치난 고에게 디 차기도 달렌디게 고갑 디나나 잠불링게 갑자기 용조 자나기 마슌기 초라 아니 따따 만다 치타데베게 뒤지갑들라 나란소 낭로라 아니 지금 동시에 지야데 야고 민도 신행에 계제시야기 고갑 가디 중마이네 니마샤르슬라디 슈디게 세산디 임바인디 직 뒤바이나 도자치디 나로체스 and the mato any talent the mixing get in the shoe game any chesa any jarum ji ko tem batang any be kelo shoe to chena
kumon chimir jula nin to pani to cheno ani shamla supun tanta chopi kutsap Mr. Over choni ani kutsap kumuni sanction wayi
Next will be the speech by the representative of Swiss Tibet Friendship Association, Mr. Uverla.
Yeah, dear friends, it is a great pleasure and honor for me to be here today for the Swiss Tibetan Friendship Association to share some words of support and solidarity with you. 1 year ago I was here and we gathered here in front of this building where the Human Rights Council meets regularly. Last year China was up for re-election to the Human Rights Council and we reminded the UN and the Rights Council and also numerous governments around the world that for years they have followed the mistaken belief that economic relations, so-called dialogue, or granting Olympic Games would finally improve the People's Republic of China's abysmal human rights record, or would lead them to the path of democracy. We told them about the assault on communities living under its rule, the construction of a huge surveillance system in occupied Uzbekistan, the incarceration of millions of Uyghurs, the demolition of the one country, two systems in Hong Kong, the destruction of southern Mongolian culture and language, the ongoing military intimidation and bullying of Taiwan and other countries around the South China Sea, and the detention, disappearance and death of countless Chinese lawyers, feminists, democracy activists, and anyone else deemed a threat by the Communist Party. Whilst China was re-elected, it was with significantly fewer votes than during the term before. This was a success for us, but we will not stop until complete success, and that is when China will stop violating human rights and stop intimidation and bullying of other countries. Now, what has changed since last year? China has not heard the message from its poor re-election result, but rather the opposite. It has continued and enhanced its path of human rights violations. and its abysmal human rights record continues to worsen. More monks and nuns are subject to so-called patriotic re-education. This was decided at the so-called 7th World Forum for Tibet that subsequently rolled out across monasteries in Tibet. Wearing and display of religious items such as prayer wheels or wrist laces has been banned from schools, including the students' parents. Several traditional festivals have been cancelled, such as Sagadawa, Shoten and the horse riding festival in Nakju. And this was done with the excuse of the pandemic. But truly it was motivated by further suppressing Tibetan religion and genuine tradition. We have seen several political prisoners die from maltreatment in custody after release back home in a hopeless condition. With great pomp, China has been celebrating the 70th anniversary of the so-called 17-point agreement, which was forced upon the Tibetans under massive threat. Furthermore, China celebrated the 100th anniversary of the founding of the Communist Party. And prior to these celebrations, we have witnessed numerous arrests of Tibetan human rights, environmental, and language activists. And most of them are still in custody, suffering from maltreatment and torture. And we are mostly worried about the enhanced campaign to suppress Tibetan language from education. This month, several Tibetan schools have been shut down by authorities, forcing students to be scattered into schools teaching in Chinese language, or leaving students without any school education and depriving them the right to speak, write and read in their own language. A popular Tibetan school in Khatse, founded by a highly respected incarnated monk and even with several awards from the Sichuan government, is forced to change the language of education and exams to Chinese or be shut down. And now even in kindergarten, Mandarin is imposed as the language of education in the children. So I'm proud and delighted to be here to see you, to amplify our message to the international community. Press China to respect human rights, grant religious freedom, stop maltreatment of political prisoners, and allow Tibetans to follow their traditional lives and use their own language. Press China to hold genuine talks with representatives of His Holiness the Dalai Lama for a peaceful resolution. And press China to give access and share the whereabouts of the 11th Panchen Lama, his entire family, and all political prisoners, and release them. Thank you very much.
Mr. Overla. Ani Shamla Muntuni ngasu Cambodia yin.
We thank Mr. Uverla and we will continue with the slogan shouting.
UNO!
Wake up! Wake up!
UNO!
Wake up! Wake up!
UNO!
The base!